I'm on a mission to help high flyers just like yourself, who until now have let the fear of public speaking hold them back from making a bigger impact. Join me as I find out the secret sauce from the world's leading speakers to make your speeches more interesting, enjoyable to give, and impactful for your audience. That's the mission, and this podcast will get you there. My name's Victor Ahipene, and this is the Public Speaking Secrets Podcast.
Speaker Nation, what's happening? Welcome to another episode of Public Speaking Secrets. I'm your host, Victor Ahipene, and as always, thank you so much for joining me. I want to talk to you about something that has been a bugbear of mine since I learnt how to effectively public speak, and it's that we need to stop memorizing things, okay? A lot of us, we learn to do one of two things when we learn about public speaking, and usually it's from someone who's underqualified to teach. It might be your teacher at school who's helping you along, and they're trying to give you a cookie cutter approach, which isn't even the right. It's more like a cake tin to cut a cookie. And what it ends up making us do is one of two things. Either A, we write out an essay and put it onto cue cards, which is just basically like shared reading when it comes to giving a presentation. It's never engaging, it's slow moving, you lose your spot, and it's a panic. The other one is memorization. And memorization is, I don't know about you, but for most of us, if we've got a 10, 20, 30-minute, hour presentation, memorization is never going to be the solution. And this is something that I teach through the Public Speaking Blueprint on ways and strategies that we can get as far away from that as possible, become more engaging, more confident, more charismatic, and more memorable as speakers, with all of that leading us to for all of that, it leads us to be having a more impactful talk that people remember, that they take away our overarching message, and they have a great time. But what brought me to talk about this today is I was watching a TED talk from Alex Honnold, and he climbed a 3,000 feet vertical cliff with no harnesses, no ropes, no anything. He just free climbs it, and it was one of the biggest successes of the climbing world ever. And it's basically a vertical wall that he managed to climb up. And he talks through, and I highly recommend going to have a look at it. It's called How I Climbed a 3,000 Foot Vertical Cliff. I highly recommend watching it, because there's some key messages in there when it comes to skill acquisition. So he started off climbing when he was younger. He climbed some different types of terrain, from not obviously vertical summits, to get his skills and to become a more confident climber. And that's where a lot of us aren't even at. We're still going for a leisurely walk up a hill rather than climbing it. And he started to climb it, and he got better and better and more confident at it. And he started doing some free climbs, and they weren't too challenging, but he would do them first with his ropes and train and things like that. Then he got to this 3,000 foot vertical cliff, and he talks about the process. He'd done another one that was pretty hard as well, similar to that, and he didn't feel anywhere near as much achievement when he got to the top of the first one, because he lost his course along the way, but he eventually found it. So he still achieved something that no one else had ever achieved, but he still wasn't quite satisfied. As he said, he didn't feel like he had achieved mastery. And why? It's because he hadn't minimized the room for errors. And this doesn't mean memorizing. With his next climb, this one that he talks about, he had got stones, because it was a different kind of grip technique. He'd got stones off the cliff face from certain areas, so he could practice getting his hands done for that. He stretched for over a year into a particular position, because he had mapped out the best way to go up it. He wasn't memorizing it, he was visualizing it. He was visualizing what it would be like to be at a certain point, what he would have to do, where his next foot would have to go, where his hand would have to go. And occasionally, he'd have to put his hand somewhere slightly different. But where he said he was the calmest, he said the last 600 feet, it was like he was doing a victory lap. Why? Because he knew the patterns. He'd worked it so much with a rope. He'd practiced it in his head. He'd prepared his grips and his hand positions so well that he knew it. And that's what is really, really important. And the learnings I think that can carry over to public speaking is when you're up on stage, you are the expert. You are the person that someone else has asked you to speak on a particular topic. It's very rarely going to be a topic that you don't know anything about. So there's no point in memorizing a long or even short talk because you are that expert. What you're better off doing is learning a structure and a system that you can put together so that no matter the time, the preparation, the length of talk that you have to give, you can jump up onto stage and absolutely dominate it. When you are the expert, you know the content. You don't need to memorize it and get nervous. You just need to know where the next steps come from. Where you need to, as he put it, where he had to put his foot or where he had to put his hand. If you're talking about, if you're talking about exercise, talk about it. Your first point might be about the benefits of exercise. The next one might be about nutrition and how it benefits exercise. And then it might be mindset, which is the third one. All of those is like, where do I put that foot? Where do I put that hand? If you overlap with some of them, that's absolutely fine because you are the expert, you know the content, you know it's true, and you know it's impactful. But as you get better and you get more confident, then you're looking at minimizing the amount of time that these things overlap or that times that you kind of slightly veer off path and then come back to it because you want to be the person who's holding any stage at any length. And I thought it was just really interesting seeing the similarities between a free climber of some of the world's hardest terrains and how that kind of overlaps to speaking. He'd gone on the exact same journey that myself and many other speakers have gone on in the sense that we started out, potentially he started out on rock climbing walls. We started out with cue cards and memorization, and then we get some more competence, we get some more skills, we get taught by somebody who knows and has been there, and then you adapt, and then you go to something harder and harder and harder, and then when you get to that top echelon, it's probably going to take a little bit more work, but the payoff is going to be so much more. And I've actually made a training that if you go to publicspeakingblueprint.com/training. I've got a training put together on the public speaking blueprint that you can follow. I'd highly recommend watching it. It's a great training. It will give you that blueprint to be able to implement so that you know where your next hand or your next foot has to go when you're climbing your public speaking ranks, building your confidence, eliminating your fears, and becoming that confident, charismatic public speaker that you've always dreamed of. Jump over to there. There's also all the past episodes that you can tune into. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Share it out with your friends and just have an all-round good time. I would love to see you also in our private Facebook community. It is called Speaker Nation. Search it up on Facebook, join it. It's full of hundreds of other like-minded individuals just like yourself. And I look forward to seeing you all there. And everybody, until next week, keep living life on your own terms, speak with confidence, and make an impact. If you want to fast track your confidence and impact with public speaking, then be sure to jump over to publicspeakingblueprint.com, where there's an array of free resources to help you no matter where you are on your journey to becoming a more powerful speaker. And while you're at it, jump over to Facebook and join our free community called Speaker Nation, where there's a ton of other like-minded individuals just like yourself looking to level up. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode.